Hey, welcome back. So we are continuing with lesson 18.1 for geometry and lesson 22.1 for math 3. So we are on example 2, part B today. So we're looking at this volume or prism, and it's an oblique prism, which just means that it's like tilted, so it's not all 90-degree angles. And what is the volume of that prism? So remember, our general volume formula is the area of the base times the height of the prism. Well, they gave us the area of the base. We don't know the height yet, but we'll see if we can get that one figured out. Let's see what information they gave us. They told us it is 4 times, the height is 4 times the side length of the base. Well, we know the area of that base, and they told us it's a square. So we can figure out a side length, because if that square, area of a square, is just side times side, we know that that's 75 centimeters. They told us the area of that square is 75 centimeters. So when we take the square root of both sides, what do we get? The square root of 75. It's not a perfect square, but that's okay. We're just going to leave it as the square root of 75. That keeps it, that's going to keep it fairly consistent. They did ask us to round to the nearest tenth. Square root of 75 is an exact number. So if the area, our height is 4 times our side length, then our height is 4 times the square root of 75. Now we can calculate our volume. The area of the base, which is 75 square centimeters, times our height, which is 4 times the square root of 75, and that we plug into our calculator. 75 times 4 times the square root of 75, rounded to the nearest tenth in my calculator, 2,598 point, it says 0.7, so that's going to round up to 1. All right, so again, that was just to fill everything out. So you're just using your information to find your height in this case, and then you can plug into our volume formula. Let's move on to example 3. Example 3 is a composite figure. So we're looking at this figure here. It looks like we've got a prism with a cylinder sitting on top. So we need to find the volume, just like we found area of composite figures. If we had something that looked like, if you remember, like those houses where we found the area of the square and the area of the triangle and added them together, we're going to do the same thing for volume. So we have a cubic base, it tells us, and they said, let's see, what information did they give us? The radius here is 5, which means this distance is 5, which means all the way across, which would be a side length, is going to be 10. So we know our side length is 10, which also means, since they told us it's a cube, my length is 10, my width is 10, my height is 10. Let's just find the cube right now. So volume of a prism, a rectangular prism, length times width times height, so 10 times 10 times 10. And that is going to be 1,000. So we know that the volume of the cube is 1,000 cubic feet. Right. Now we can kind of set the cube aside and solve for the volume of the cylinder. With red on that one. Well, what do we need to know for the volume of the cylinder? Well, again, we're looking at the area of the base. If we look at our generic formula, area of the base times the height. Well, the base is a circle, which means that our circle, area of a circle is pi r squared. All right, so what information do we need to know? We need to know our radius. They gave us that. So we can plug that in. Pi times 5 squared The other thing we need to know is the height. They didn't directly tell us the height, but we do know the distance from the bottom of the cube to the top of the cylinder is 22. And we figured out earlier that the height of the cube is 10 feet, which means the leftover, 22 minus 10, our cylinder is going to be 12 feet tall. So we can plug 12 in for our height. Same thing, let's plug that into our calculator. Pi times 5 squared times 12. That comes out to, we're going to have to round it a little bit. Nearest tenth is what the problem asked for, so 942.5. Add that to the cube, and we get a total of 1,942.5 cubic feet. That is the volume of that composite figure. Let's try another one here. Ooh, fun. Okay, so we've got a periscope made of 2 congruent cylinders. That's cool. It means I'm going to have to find one of them. And 2 congruent triangular prisms, each of which is a cube cut in half. Well, if they're the same and it's half a cube, I'm just going to treat it like it's a cube. Put them together, make a cube. And let's see what information they gave us. The height of each cylinder is 6 times the length of the radius. So this is 6 times the radius. Can we estimate the volume? Well, they gave us the area of the base. So the only thing we're going to need to figure out is the radius, from what I can tell. Let's start with the cylinders on this one. So we're looking at the base as a circle. So we're looking at the area of a circle, pi r squared, and that's 36 pi. Sorry, I wrote into the letters. So when I solve that, divide by pi, take the square root, r equals 6. So I know my radius is 6. So 6 times 6 is 36, which means my height is 36 inches long. So let's find the volume of that. I'm looking at the volume of one cylinder. Again, base times height. They told me the base is 36 pi times my height, which in this case is also 36. That comes out to 4,071.5. So that's one of those cylinders. There's 2 of them, so I'm going to double that. And the 2 cylinders total are going to be 8,143.0 cubic inches. So we're going to hang on to that piece. That is my cylinders. Now let's take a look at the cube. How do we figure out the dimensions of the cube? Well, we're going to go back to that radius. That radius was 6. And that circle takes up the whole length of that cube, or that prism, which means the whole side length is going to be 12. Change colors here. And since it's a cube, we're looking at 12 by 12. Remember, we took our 2 triangular prisms, and since they told us they were a cube cut in half, I'm going to put them back together to make a cube, a full cube. And so we're looking at 12 by 12 by 12. So 12 to the third is 1,728 cubic inches. Add that to my cylinders, which was the 8,000 number, and I get a total volume of 9,871 cubic inches. All right, that is it for today. I will see you later.